Hi, everyone. It's Sam from the Danger Planet,
And I'm Brandon.
and we're joined today by Haku and Popedarpa from Badfo Haku. And today we're going to be doing another tier list on the Neverborn. Uh,
Woo!
I think this one should be quick because we're just going to put them all in D. But, we might as well actually go through the formal process of putting them all in D.
I know where you
So
live,
here
Sam.
we go.
I will choke you out.
You actually don't. I just moved.
Oh, It's bad. Great. Doug's muted. Okay, Marcus, do it.
All right, to start us off, we're going to start with Marcus, who I think is very solidly B. This guy's been around for a while. He's always been pretty decent. I think you can argue he's A in some pools, but I think very specifically it's pools with unimpeded and a lot of outward scheming he's good at. So I'm always been pretty solid on him, but I don't think he's that great. So I just put him in B.
Yeah, I think there's a floor on how bad Marcus can be because he's very proactive. The nature of his card means he's like able to really like do his thing, like attach his upgrade. He doesn't not really dependent on what your opponent's doing. He has some ability to reposition his crew, so he doesn't really end up in these. It's hard for him to get stuck in a bad position where he doesn't have good spend on his AP, and that to me is a pretty good sign of a master. But when I think about putting him in A, I'm just like, nah, it's not. It's too narrow. So yeah, B is fine.
I can put him in A. He's got great stats, and unlike the title version, which I'm sure we're all going to rank higher, he draws a million cards, which the title version just kind of doesn't do, so that gives him a bit more of a niche as to whether or not you need the more proactive piece or if you need the more support piece. It's not like he's even bad. Like he's good. I want him in A.
Well, I mean, I personally, I probably would put him in like low B, if not high C. I do think that there's definitely legs, and his flexibility is good, but just as like a master in a vacuum, he like his strength is his keyword. As long as his crew is alive and he can support them, I think that that's fine. But like he just, I don't know, his card just doesn't speak to me. He has a couple abilities, but they're all buff things. So like if you take out his like couple of pieces that he's trying to do stuff with, I feel like he falls sort of flat. And I think he's more of a narrow, but sort of maybe specific. Yeah. So I'm fine with B.
Yeah, I'm pretty set with B against Landon's will, mainly just because I really do think like you're only seeing him in specific pools.
All right, last argument for you. Do you remember Collodi? This is Collodi. He's a master with accomplice. You just whack 3 times, then you accomplice in the scariest thing in your crew, and that whacks like 6 times, and that's just really good.
Although accomplice is objectively worse now, but
that's not. I mean, sure, yes, you have to discard a card. It's objectively worse.
Also, just the simple fact that one, I don't think he accomplishes into that many models that well, because I really do think he's most valuable when he's scheming out, and since you don't have activation control, unlike M2E, by just hiring a lot of small models, accomplice isn't as big of a thing. I feel
totally
like
disagree, but that's okay.
Especially because you can give up control.
I mean, yeah, Call of the Wild's good, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Especially recently, I've played against him a couple of times, and like this new meta we have, he just feels very just power crept.
Yeah, he feels to me like he has both a floor and a ceiling on how bad or how good his activations can be. Like they're never going to be terrible because you can always draw cards and you can always Chimerancy and you can always push your dudes around and make them charge. So it's very hard for you to not get 3.5 AP out of work out of him, or 4 AP because actually Primal Roar is really good. But it also seems like even his best activations are kind of like, like his best activations are really good, but they're not as good as the best activations of his title or of some of the other masters in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, in Neverborn, where it's a faction of just a bunch of extremes in a bunch of different directions, he just sort of feels like he's like, middle ground type of guy, and it's not great.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we'll go to Barkus.
He's a cat.
Superior
it's Meowkus.
We'll die on the Barkus Hill.
He's a beaver. He's Beefkiss.
Beefkiss and Butthead. I'm okay with that if you can find me a Butthead.
I mean, it's not.
You're talking to him.
I think you mean he's a bear. Rar.
No, it's
Bearkiss.
It's Nekima because she's like a ram lady.
Anyways.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, very solid A. Wilds of Malifaux is just a really strong ability, and then on top of the fact that he's just ferocious with his claws. I mean, all in all, he's just a good model. Has healing, has kind of everything you want from a master who jumps around the board. Is a interrupt piece for your opponent while also potentially slowing down the whole game just because he's a tar pit himself. He does kind of most of what you want, and those kind of strengths where he's really just an independently solid piece really means you can play him in most pools. So I think he's really solidly A, and that's where he'll be. I don't think he'll ever be amazingly good, but he's never going to be close to that.
Well, I've recently come into possession of a piece of evidence suggesting that he's even better than Yanlo too. So we could perhaps put him in S.
Sam, have you had a stroke in the past 12 hours?
No, I just watched a game where DARPA got his house rearranged by Marcus. But yeah, he's really good. He's great. He's a master with leap. He's a master with leap with an attack trigger that he doesn't have to stone for. That's pretty sweet. Wilds of Malifaux is like an ability that always does at least something. And he's just extremely durable and extremely mobile. And he's not a master you can ignore because his attack is pretty strong. And he just also passively makes your crew like rapidly scale out of control. So yeah, he's great. Easy A, no problem.
S tier, and I wouldn't call having a tie game getting my clock clean, but maybe it is. I don't know.
It was just out that turn where like nothing could kill Marcus was extremely entertaining.
So like that's part of the reason why I maybe rate him higher is that like he's a master that you can just kind of throw in, and when he's normally supposed to die, he just ends up back in your enemy's deployment zone and heals her fucking 11 because Miranda's dumb. But he's just a piece that goes anywhere on the board with a bunch of very flexible like defensive tech, a bunch of flexible offensive angles, like say spreading out and scheming, but he doesn't even have to do that. He has plenty of options to not do that, especially in Neverborn where you have the mysterious emissary where you just have a 4-inch aura of your opponent's on nib flips to the fucking mysterious emissary attack, right? Like I think he's clearly a head above most of the stuff you'll see in the faction, and I don't think he's ever a bad pick, and I think that's what we defined S tier as, so I am happy to slap him in S. I think he's just always going to work.
I will say what's keeping me out of S is that so I played a game with him against Jim Dyson and I won because he's really, really good and I've had him in A. But as soon as I basically took the pressure off my opponent's shooting crew slightly, which I just inevitably have to do because you don't have a perfect hand all the time and sometimes you have to scheme. The shooting was able to clean up a lot of my keyword because I don't think his keyword is very resilient. It's not bad, but a lot of his stuff is a little, if it's not stealthy, can be focused down. And he's good, but like he gets into the middle of your opponent's crew and he kills all their weak stuff, but he doesn't like just one round strong models, like, powerful masters and henchmen and stuff in the same way that some of the other really high end beat sticks do. Unless you've like done a lot of work in advance to set it up by putting like a million upgrades on him. So
that never really matters because you never need to deal with the strong beat sticks for most crews, but
that's true. But what I'm just saying, like this is what I'm saying. He's A. He's like obviously an A tier master. But when to me, S is like warps the game in a way that I don't think Marcus warps the game. Like S tier masters like really dictate the way your opponent is allowed to play in a way that I don't think Marcus 2 does.
I don't know. I find him to be similar to Yanlo 2.
He's very good though. And like Leap, there's a floor on how bad a master with Leap can be. Leap is incredibly strong.
Yeah, I think that we're pretty solidly in A as well. Leap is wild. Like it's so good. He just sort of feels like he traded up a bit in the fact that he's just a little bit more offensive and a little bit more involved in the game and less of a buffer. And I just like it more. I think that's where I'm at. Plus, Wilds of Malifaux is insane. It's like sort of Gravity Well, right?
It's better than that because it gives your mysterious emissary free terrain anywhere on the board.
Well, it's also a 4 instead of a 6. But yeah, it's very good. The terrain part to me is more relevant than the plays part.
Sure. Yeah, I mean they're both good. And I think Marcus 2 is going to be the Marcus that we see pretty much. I don't know if it's an auto declare because they sort of do different things a little bit, but I think if people are going to be playing Marcus, they're probably going to be playing Marcus 2. And the old Avatar Marcus, which you can still buy from Weird's web store, is a great stand-in for Marcus 2 until he comes out.
Yeah, I'll just justify my not putting him in S because I think the crews that I play a lot of, so like Hoffman and Arcanus, Sonya and Guild and stuff like that, actually do a really good job of just shutting down what he and his crew wants to do. A lot of what you're talking about, like the ranged attacks and just being able to like pick off his models, and then I don't even necessarily need to kill him. I just need to like stun him or keep him annoyed, and he's perfectly. I think there are just certain matchups and pools that he's not the greatest in, and that's why I keep him in A. Because most pools, is what I was saying. But yeah, I think with that we'll move to Lucius. We did Lucius in Guild, and he doesn't get better in Neverborn. Shockingly enough, I think having worse upgrades is actually the only thing I can really say about it. I almost want to. Did we end up actually throwing him?
We did stick him in D.
I want to stick him in D. I don't think he's playable in Neverborn. I never really want to see Lucius 1 anywhere.
Yeah, I'll stick him in D. That sucks. He sucks.
Well, you see, oh, I'm sorry. You still going?
I was just gonna say the thing that you might say for Lucius in Guild is that you can like hire Lone Marshal or Pale Rider or something, but like, boy, you can't even do that. What are you gonna hire? Angel Eyes?
Mature Nephilim. Mature Nephilim is why he's better in Neverborn than he is in Guild. At least Lucius 1 here. Yeah. So I disagree. He is at least a C tier. I think because the Mature Nephilim are just good enough.
Yeah, just having. Yeah, I can see that argument. So having just.
I'm strongly in C tier for that reason. I think that Lucius's best model in either faction that he can play in. Well, maybe not in either, but good lord, Mature Nephilim are good, and you can hire one out of keyword with Lucius when he's playing in Neverborn. So like,
you know what?
Also, Ancient Pact is not a strict downgrade of an upgrade compared to like Guild upgrades. Ancient Pact is a quite powerful upgrade.
Ancient Pact is very good. I don't think that Lucius really needs it, but like. Having access to it, especially on some cheap minions, and being, I think it has just enough legs with a Mature Nephilim in the crew. But like, good lord, if you're playing Lucius 1, like you need to buy the Nekima box set. I just don't see you winning the game without one, or two. I don't know, maybe 2.
I think the only reason I didn't even think of that is just because if you're playing a list like that, you could just play a better master with the
you're absolutely
good. He is objectively better for having it.
Mature Nephilim are really good, but like I don't know if that makes Lucius good. It just makes Mature Nephilim good. I mean, fine. Like if you guys say C, I'll buy C. But anyone can hire Mature Nephilim and also not be Lucius.
Yeah. Only Neverborn Lucius can hire Mature Nephilim.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a fair point on why he's slightly better than the Guild version. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, and like I think that there definitely are some things that you can do with out of keyword models in Neverborn with Lucius 1. Having a bunch of self-side obeys seems good, but no, there's like no use case where it's not just Mature Nephilim all day all the time.
We'll just move on right to Lucius 2, I guess, because we all had our say. I'm just going to slam him below him in C just because, again, I'm perfectly good with this guy as a double master. I don't think in Neverborn that really works out as well as it can potentially work in Guild. And as you guys point out, the matures actually don't do anything for him in this version because now he's keyword restricted. So
yeah, it feels weird putting like the Lucius with the objectively better card below the Lucius with the like Dogwater card, but you're probably correct. I mean, if you're hiring a second master in Neverborn and it's not one of Zoraida or Pandora, like what are you doing?
Yeah, there's no world in Neverborn that
I guess Dreamer
Lucius 2 as a second master. It's just that's not viable.
Yeah.
Literally, there are like 5 masters ahead of Lucius 2. Like I would hire Nekima 1 as a second master.
Yeah, like Nekima 1 is a great second master for what you want Lucius 2 to do.
Yeah, she's effectively just as fast. She's way more beady, and like she just murders things. Like there's no world where it's Lucius. Lucius is like pick number 9 unless we're playing triple bans format. It's just not going to happen.
R.I.P. Lucius.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a quick one. Let's just go right to Dreamer. Dreamer 1, still a very good Dreamer. I don't think he's as good, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I think I just because like some counterattack he's come out with new masters, I think he's similarly suffered a power creep downwards with Marcus, where I'm just perfectly fine putting him in B. I don't even know if there's much to say about it. Some has obviously got nerfed a while ago, which kind of annoyed him. His rigging the deck got weird because of that nerf. And they've just curtailed his power down, and then power creep went up, so he went down even a little bit further. So I'm putting him in B.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they revert the summon changes, I'd put him in A. Like if GG3 doesn't have the GG2 summon stuff, he'd be a pretty easy A for me because he's a really good summoner. But summons are a lot worse than they used to be, and he doesn't do anything else that counterbalances summons getting nerfed. Like he didn't improve in GG2, he just got worse. So yeah, I'm okay with B. I also think it is correct to put him below Marcus because if you're just playing their base, like Dreamer's basic game plan that he does, Marcus's basic game plan is better right now.
How am I supposed to rank Widow Weaver as the leader instead of Dreamer? Because I feel like Widow Weaver instead of Dreamer is clearly be above Marcus, not be below Marcus. And maybe just Chompy led Dreamer. But that's just because Lucid Dreams is a really, really dumb ability and puppets are really good. Nightmare's not a bad keyword either. Otherwise, I think you're probably about right with like baseline Dreamer.
Yeah, Nightmare is actually a great keyword.
But like, yeah, I just don't want to sell short. Like, if you declare a leader of Nightmare that is not Dreamer 1, there's some good legs to that too.
Yeah, I think there definitely are. I think the biggest thing is so like the Vivid Nightmares ability on the front of Dreamer's card, which is the thing that makes you pitch your removed from game cards, doesn't exist if Chompy Bits or fucking Widow Weaver for that matter are your,
exactly, and that's why I'm saying like Widow Weaver Chompy leader is actually just better at sometimes.
It's sort of wild. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because I really like Dreamer and he's one of my he's like my second favorite master in the game. But I do really think that he has legs. Having Twist Reality on a master, I can't think of another master that has Twist Reality. So
I can.
No, I can't. So and this isn't your turn, Sam. It's mine. So I think that I think that Twist Reality is just a very, very powerful ability. He can pass out Adversary. That's like super good. Not to mention teleporting Chompy Bits in right next to things. I think Dreamer's low A. I guess I'm fine with being outruled. It's not that big of a deal, but like he just does so much. And like I think that the definition of A is like he's playable in most pools. I think the only pool right now in Gaining Grounds 2 that Dreamer sort of suffers in is Turf War because of like all of the stuff counts negative for him and none of it counts positive when he's summoning. But I think he can handle pretty much any other pool. There's very few things that he can't. Like he's just very good, versatile all around. He can summon a toolbox and hire a toolbox crew that he needs with Serena Bowman, Widow Weaver, and I think just as a general, like he's just very strong.
Yeah, I just slightly disagree. Yes, on the points, mainly because I just think that there are actual, like, because of the summon nerfs, he is objectively just worse at most strats and streams now than he was before, and I think that's that. And then he's no longer able to get those like ridiculous decks anymore as frequently. It always made me feel like Dreamer's not that great when he doesn't actually get a god deck.
Yeah, I mean that's entirely fair, and I think it's wrong for us to evaluate Dreamer as a master in a crew that does not include him. Right? That's probably not. Even though the Chompy led Nightmare crew is, or the Widow Weaver led Nightmare crew is wild. Because the Widow led Nightmare crew, you can also have all the puppets from the entire game. Cough, Bunraku, cough. Okay.
Exactly, that's A tier.
All right, Dreamer 2. I might be a little biased in this, and I could be corrected, but I'm just going to put him in S. I think this guy is a monster.
Yeah.
The sheer fact that you can just draw, god hands, like, oh, I just want to make sure my hand is 6 Severes, or I guess 5, 6 Severes, and it's just, man, good lord, that ability is just ridiculous. Plus, rigging your deck with his attack is just really good while giving slow and adversary. I think everything he does honestly is just really amazing, and there's just nothing bad about it. And you can do almost everything in the game, so I think it's a pretty simple S for me. But yeah, it's on the lower side of S honestly, just because some of the other S tiers we talked about and how amazing they are. He's not like that, but
this one's interesting for me, and it makes me kind of wonder, this is like how we're going to rate this, because I'm wondering if like difficulty of playing goes into how highly we rate somebody, because I think played optimally, Dreamer is maybe S. I think that it is played the way most people are going to play him. He is an A because he's an incredibly mentally taxing master to like juggle that, like things like his placement and like timing when you are removing cards and when you're taking stuff out. Because the thing is, if your opponent is actually able to draw a beat on him at any point, he's really fragile. And it's difficult to draw a beat on him a lot of the time. Like that's one of the things that makes him so strong is that he's almost, if you're playing him really optimally, it's almost never going to be, you're almost never going to be able to attack him basically. But the difference between Dreamer being played optimally and Dreamer being played like slightly suboptimally, like at 80%, is the difference between S and A. So I don't know if there's like a way if we figure that in, but I mean, if we're talking about sort of we're in like the platonic world of like shapes and forms, and you're playing these masters to the best that they can be played, I think I'm okay with S. I could find high A defensible. Having a Hand of All Spheres is really good. Summoning Chompy is really good. Like the stuff he does is really good. It's just there's a lot of moving parts in his crew.
I really like Insomniac Dreamer, and I think you're fucking high. He's an A tier, not an S tier. I think he has enough like bad matchups that exist, and then just like his keyword isn't enough to carry the sometimes bad activations you just take on him, right? All of his shit's ranged. If you have too much concealing on the board, you can just have some really awkward turns. I don't know. And he also just suffers against high willpower crews. I think there's enough bad matchups.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to say just Windmill Slam Ass as well, but these are all valid points. I played a lot of Dreamer 2. I probably have played more Dreamer 2 than most other masters at this point, and the mental tax is no joke. Like there's a lot that you need to focus on and constantly be tracking when you're playing him, because you need to plan out basically every action with 2 completely separate hands in case somebody throws a wrench into your Lucid Dream activations to get him to bury or unbury. And like he's very good in a lot of situations. But maybe he's not every single situation. I mean, I would probably declare him in every pool though. So I don't know. I could be talked into S, but I think high A is probably more likely.
He's not below A, but the thing is,
Marcus 2 is a lot more powerful and a lot more universal, so I think they're about equivalent in my mind. And if you're saying that equivalency is S or A, I think they need to be together in one or the other.
I would put them. I'd be more comfortable putting them both in A than S. The thing about Dreamer is if you screw up an activation with Dreamer, sometimes the cost is you just instantly lose him. Yeah. He is fragile.
Yeah, and I will say if he dies, you lose the game on the spot. There's no coming back from that. Like everything that you built the crew around, because he is such a demanding master in how you build the crew to really get his burying mechanics to work. You have to build your crew around him, and that crew fucking blows if he's not there. Like you absolutely cannot let him die, and if you do that, he just you're just screwed.
Yeah, and the other thing is I feel like a lot of the things you use to Lucid Dream can get picked off really easily, and if you drop like 2 of those models even, suddenly you're not like cycling your hand twice every turn, you're getting like somewhere awkwardly through the turn a hand of better cards.
So I think that's not necessarily the case. So basically he can do it himself, right? So if you have to punt one of his activations to like set up the pacing for every turn for the rest of the game around turn 3, I don't think that's the worst. But realistically, you're locked on turn 1. There's nothing that anybody can do to stop you unless they like snipe your models from your deployment zone, in which case you've already lost. In turn 2, you're usually going to be putting most of the things that you're using to Lucid Dream into threat range after you do it. So I think you're locked for turn 1 and 2 basically, unless you really, really punt. And then in round 3, maybe you start taking some casualties. But one of the things that Dreamer 2 is like just has as an amazing card draw engine is just 2 Daydreams that both have the Ancient Pact upgrade, which both have Lucid Dream. So you're guaranteeing at least 3 because you have 2 of them, and then you have Chompy Bits, which you can summon back. I think it's very hard to disable him unless you know exactly what you're doing or the Dreamer player fucks up.
I don't know. Last 3 games I've played in Dreamer, I've killed at least an Insidious Madness turn 1, and that's just like a consistent thing. I think that happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've never had an Insidious Madness die on turn 1, and that sounds like a bad decision on the Dreamer's
he's playing Malifaux 2, so
no, not Yanlo 2. I think one of those was even a fucking game of Asami 2.
That sounds like a mistake, but maybe I don't know.
Think it was.
I mean, I like Insidious Madnesses. I want my 2 Insidious Madnesses to live.
Yeah, I was a lot more scared of him, and then I had that game, that Ulix 2 game into him, where he just like was unburied for an activation, and I was like, walk, charge, knock aside, kill you.
That was like my second game with him.
No,
as
it's
the
true.
master.
I'm just saying, like, when
But,
somebody, if
sure.
you're not playing him optimally, like, I'm not. That's not like
Yeah. Also,
a dig
I
on
had
you.
no, I know, but I'm just saying I don't know that that's the best data set because that was my second game. I think that was my second game with him as a master, and that was the first time I had ever played against any single one of the models with in Ulix's keyword, like at any point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that game is demonstrative of like that specific matchup. I'm saying it illustrates what happens when Dreamer is on the board.
If you punt,
that's
he dies.
what I'm saying.
That's for sure. Like anything with a grudge can kill him if you can get past the Serene Countenance. Like you're just done.
The Serene Countenance and Innocent Bystander.
Yeah, Innocent Bystander, I guess, but
yeah, I don't know. A third of the deck just can't hit him.
Yeah.
Look, Innocent Bystander is definitely relevant, having that had come up a lot in my Asami versus Dreamer game, where it's like, all right, I have like a fucking high card of a 5 here. I'm swinging against the defense 4 model. Surely I'll hit. Nope. I guess I just don't beat his stat 0 because he's injured, but I don't care. Like,
yeah, I mean, Innocent
rule.
Bystander actually kind of has interesting interaction with the fact that he's Def 4, because if he's like Def 6, Innocent Bystander's like very rarely going to come up, but it actually comes up. Like if Dreamer flips an 8, you like need or he can't flip less than an 8 effectively, and then 8's a pretty good card.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just if you have the cards and you have the beater, he's gonna die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does protect himself in a little bit of a sense because like you really should have a whole hand of Severes, but if you're punting them to save your Dreamer, then you have already lost really. So yeah, I think high A is the place to be. He's very, very strong, and in optimal circumstances, I think he could be good almost any time. But he definitely has some weaknesses.
Honestly, the secret to Neverborn is that Neverborns aren't that strong, so I'm fine putting him in A. I don't feel like Neverborn's in a good position right now.
I feel personally attacked.
All right, well, onwards to Euripides. This is a master I've never liked, honestly. I obviously can't put him as low as trash. I think maybe he can fit his way into B somewhere, but I personally just think this model is bad. I'm not a fan of him or his crew. He does the one clever thing where he like hides your guys, or what henchman does it, where he hides your guys in an ice pillar, and that's fun. But I don't know. I've never liked this guy. I'm actually going to put him in C until you talk me out of it. But every time I played against him, I just feel like he doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk you out of it too. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
there's
no world. There's
I
no
don't like him.
C.
I really don't like this guy.
I mean, I get why you don't like him. Like, he feels weird when I play against him. It feels like I'm kind of like, what are you doing outside of the one thing I know you're going to try to do? But I think that his activations are pretty good. Like, making ice pillars is not a bad thing at baseline in his crew. It can like interfere with what your opponent's trying to do. His crew uses them effectively, and he makes them very well. He makes them very effectively. He has like Rune Edge Dice is a good action. His attack is good. It's it's stat 6 min 3. I don't think you're going to be punching people with him super often, but you always have that option, and you can Shattering Surprise if you really have to, and like punch people from way downtown. Intuition's a great master ability. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with him in B. I think that he is like he's a crew that has a plan where he's basically trying to create these ice pillars and then use them to like get your opponent, and you make your opponent react to that. And if they can't react to that, then you end up with a crew that has like extremely good mobility and extremely good ability to control the board and pretty good resilience, and those are all good things to have. So yeah, he's fine to me.
I think the only reason Euripides doesn't get played more is because A, he's the new kid on the block, and I think most of the new masters that aren't named Von Stuck just get a little bit less play time, even Von Stuck to an extent. And secondly, just like he's a little hard to play. I think in the heyday of when Blackblood Shaman was like a good model for out of keyword, he was easily A tier for me. Now I'm saying he's at least high B tier. As mentioned, he punches pretty well. Like, Blast is neat. Sometimes ice pillars just crack open a map, especially something like symbols where you just block out symbols and your opponent's like, cool, I get 1 point on symbols this game. And then Glacial Shove's actually just, or not Glacial Shove. I mean, Glacial Shove is good, right? But I was thinking of the other Shattering Surprise trigger. Just gives you some weird mobility where you just get to attack from good angles. And I disagree. I don't even think in the 2 weeks I played Euripides that I even relied on the Thune gimmick in a single game. I think there are a lot of games where I just didn't hire Thune. He's got a lot going on outside of that. So
Something I also
don't
like about
agree.
him
He's
is
good.
he does have TNs, but he has intuition.
Yeah, he comes with intuition. He comes with one of the best upgrades in the game just on his card.
Like the fact, like I think if he didn't have intuition, the fact that he has a bunch of TNs, it would be a big problem. But he does. He has it. So there.
So I'm much more in agreeing with Longtin than this. I honestly I think low C high D. So I get what they're trying to do. I've played him a few times, but I really don't like Euripides 1. His keyword is all 50 mils, which is a problem for most maneuverability. I think that he has intuition, which is good, and he can sort of plan out his turn, but he doesn't really have that much in terms of defensive tech. He's hard to kill, I guess, which is neat on a master, but he's defense 5. He has a buttload of health, but his crew is so unwieldy. They don't have a lot of synergy. The ice pillars are nice, but in Malifaux Burns, there's so much marker removal and they're destructible. I'm not digging Euripides. I guess I'm outlier here in D, but no.
You can't put him in D. I'm not going to allow it.
All right. Let me walk you back here since we're talking about it in Malifaux Burns. He has a TN14 tactical action. Sorry, a TN14 shockwave tactical action that does damage. You know who that kills in Malifaux Burns? Jan Low.
All right.
So there you go.
Yep.
What?
Flip those 12.
Yeah,
try and
rune
not
edge
take
dice.
2 damage. It's a tactical action, so
mean,
it gets around incorporeal.
Sure.
I mean, I guess.
You want to ping 2 damage at a
So I could have my master spend all 3 of his activations to maybe
that's a very
do 4 damage to Yanlo.
Arrow
6
strength.
damage to Yanlo, but yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, you're also feeding Yanlo a bunch of fucking cards from
Yanlo's always going to have 2 cards.
That's
off
true.
of
Fine,
Weird
fair
Road. That's
enough,
never
fair
an issue.
But I mean, the point being though is he counters your ice pillars. You're a surprise, and I think Brandon's right. I mean, that's the reason why I particularly don't like him. I used to play X's a lot, so I had a lot of good marker removal, and I never cared about him. And now that that's in every faction, basically, I don't care about him times 2.
He has his moments, and he definitely has his things he can do. If your opponent sees him and designs a crew that doesn't fix any of the gaping plot holes that you can drive a fucking Mack truck through with him, yeah, I guess that's fine. But I just no, man. having an entire crew that is exclusively 50 mils also blows if there's any terrain, because none of them can ignore it.
Yeah,
you get one model per turn on what is potentially, I think, the most aggressively killed model in the entire game, because the Primordial Magic Euripides Totem is a 3-wound model with incorporeal as its only defensive tech. It's defense, I believe, 4.
Yeah, it's 4/4.
Yeah, it's defense 4. It's incorporeal, which is nice, but it has 3 health and it has arcane res 4 on it. There's no world where that is not the first model that dies the second that it gets the opportunity to, and that's the only way that you can have your crew actually move anywhere around the board, because it makes one of your dudes incorporeal. But even then, everybody's so big and it just there's too much. If you pilot him perfectly, maybe B tier, but I feel unless you play dozens and dozens of games and get really, really good with him and know exactly everything that you need to do, and also the terrain supports you and your opponent designs their list wrong, I just don't see him being good. I think that's why D.
I'm
but
low B
I
below
see
Dreamer.
C. I'll be talked into C, but I think B is wrong.
All right, with you guys high B, me I almost
I'm low B. I think Lee's low B.
That's what I meant. With you guys in B, Brandon in D, I'm gonna keep him in C. I think he's perfectly fine where he is.
All right. Well, let's talk about Meatfest.
Well, now see, that's a different story.
This Euripides is better than Dreamer. Maybe worse than Old Marcus. Maybe better than Old Marcus. I actually kind of like this version of Euripides. Obviously, I think just having a lot more survivability really helps him out. At being defense 6 is actually a huge difference. Sure, he kind of lost some damage on his attack on mins and on the severe, but it's range 2 now, which is so much better on a 50 mil than range 1. And I don't know. I think this model is just overall just better than the old one, and it does its job better. I've been a little more afraid of him than I was ever of Euripides 1. I still don't like him, so I still almost want to put him low B, but
No, this guy's an A. This guy's an A to me. Hepatomancy is a stupid ability. Really, really outrageously stupid ability. I mean, until you play against it, it's very hard to visualize just how bad it is for you. It is incredibly bad for you. It basically means that you are limited. Like, if you have attacks that you really need that are important to you, you are limited to the cards in your hand. You are never going to hit naturally on an important attack. Not never, but the chance of you hitting naturally on an important attack is very low. He has and it's just an outrageously powerful ability. The thing is, like, if the person who was like attacking, because a much more powerful use of hepatomancy is targeting your opponent's deck, and if that required the model making the attack to be within 10 inches of Euripides, then maybe the ability would be a lot worse. It doesn't. As long as the target of the attack, the model that you're attacking, the savage model you're attacking, is within 10 inches of Euripides, he gets to screw with your deck. And in practice, that's his whole crew all the time. And you have his yes, he's a lot more survivable because of the shielded and the fact that he can, if you ever get him in melee, he can heal a lot. His ranged attack has like an incredible amount of play to it because it's pretty easy to just like bounce it off of a pillar and pretty much touch almost anywhere you need to hit. And I think that like he also solves the movement problem that Brandon brought up with Avalanche. Push a model 5 inches, ignoring models, ignoring terrain, and it even has like the ability to maybe ping out some damage. I don't really think that part's that important, but yeah, he's an A. He solves the problems the crew has, and he's just massively threatening, and he's massively threatening from complete safety.
If I had actually seen this model on the table yet, easy S tier, but I haven't yet, so I'll be okay with A tier for now.
Like, I just want to reiterate,
for all the reasons. Yeah. Hepatomancy is just it's your entire crew all of the time, always, right? And you might say it's limited by the rune tokens, but you're never limited by the rune tokens. Let's be real.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's not a real limit.
As they hit you with things by cheating up their thing, they give you more rune tokens. Like, it's literally
the only way that you're limited by rune tokens is if you're using the monetheric gaze a lot of the time, and even then, it's like you might be missing it for one duel, right?
Yeah,
you're using one. You're using one token on etheric gaze.
Yeah, if for some reason you need to use 2, maybe you have a duel where you don't have like Hepatomancy, right? And that's a choice you've made.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but even then, like, that duel, you just use the old ways and then you have it again.
Right, exactly. So like, it's very good. This guy is a card draw monster, deck manipulator machine, and he's got good actions.
Yeah,
like Avalanche is really good.
He doesn't draw; he just manipulates, but. It's hard to, if you haven't played against Hepatomancy, it's hard to understand how crippling it is. Because as long as one of the top 2 cards of your deck is bad, your flip is bad. If neither of the top 2 cards of your deck is bad, your flip might still be bad because they're just going to get rid of both of them.
So my only counterpoint, because I do kind of agree with you to a decent amount, but my only counterpoint is from the couple games I've played against it, because I have actually ran against it a couple times, and that's I specifically play, and I think I would argue that most good crews play this way, is you do only have a few big attacks that you want to go off. And so while Hepatomy helps you keep alive a lot of like the lower priority targets, the ones they want to kill still die a good chunk of the time. But it is definitely one of the most obnoxious abilities to go up against. So I definitely get it, but I'm kind of used to just still being able to pick off who I want to pick off playing against this crew.
And see, that's fair, but I think one of the things that makes him so good also is that if he's playing into a crew that has a lot of card draw and therefore is going to be able to basically ensure those attacks hit, you can kind of, he has no card draw on his card, like I said, but you can kind of pseudo get card draw, because if you're hepatomancing all of your own attacks, then you're really reducing a lot of your need to cheat, or at least to cheat first, because you're guaranteeing that those good flips. So the fact that the ability has such a strong defensive and offensive application, although I do think it is stronger defensively in many instances, I don't know. I've said enough. This guy's nuts. I think he's an A.
Yeah, I think he's an easy A. And the two things I think that we haven't really talked about with him so far is because Avalanche absolutely 100% bonkers. Etheric Gaze absolutely bonkers. His weapon damage does go down a little bit, like his Bloody Fist, but at 2 inches, like still moderate 4, I think is fine. But like, Absolute Zero is his new bonus action, which is how he creates ice pillars. In addition to creating ice pillars, it's AoE marker removal, which is fucking wild. And it can create like 4 or 5, maybe even more ice pillars from a single action with the trigger. And it heals your crew if you remove a bunch of enemy ski markers or a bunch of corpse markers or a bunch of other markers near them. Like Absolute Zero is an insane ability, and it just spikes him up that much further in the the crazy nonsense. I think he's high A if not S. There's so much versatility, and Avalanche literally single-handedly solves all of his problems that he has with his crew. It's nuts. Literally, I can't say more. 2 weeks ago, I fully painted the entire Euripides crew because I was like, oh, I read this card and I was like, okay, we're playing him now.
All right, so we all like Meatfist.
Yeah.
Last point to revisit before we move on. Cult Guys are just a thing that exists.
Oh my god,
they have 30 millimeter models in the crew that are not garbage now. So
yeah, those things are
figured that's a fair point to
I get
before we move on.
Cult Guys are fine, but they're so much more versatile in Rasputina. I find that I don't have points for them in Euripides in Old One Eye because there are just so many other things that I want to do.
Really interesting.
I don't think.
I think it just solves a lot more of the problems that you're saying exist in Euripides 1 than perhaps you might have let on. But it's fine. We don't need to revisit it.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Well, onwards to Nekima. Apparently, Nekima is utterly trashed now and is unplayable. While that might be the ramblings of one of the best American players, I think he just is sad it's not S tier anymore. And is probably still in B tier somewhere, maybe below Marcus. It's a type of crew that will always never be like terrible because it's just go in there and kill things, and it does that very well. And the counter text, most of it is let things die, and then hopefully you can just play around it. So it definitely did get weaker as power corrupt happened and certain defensive models became more popular, and just the ability to play around it in schemes and strats is a bit higher. But yeah, I'm willing to put it in B tier. It's still just monstrous and how much damage her and 2 matures can do to your crew. And then obviously the whole nerfing of Blood Shaman was pretty big for her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Our format for B is a master that has very good specific strengths in which they excel, but maybe isn't good at everything. Our format for C is a master who has those strengths, but they're rather narrow. Nekima has those strengths. She's really good at running at your opponent and killing them. They are not particularly narrow because she doesn't really care that much about terrain. She is resilient enough that she doesn't just immediately fold to a counterpunch. Yeah, she is the platonic ideal of the B Master. She's like what I'm thinking of when I talk about a B Master. I'd put her exactly where you got her, above Dreamer and below Marcus.
I think she's worse than Dreamer. Otherwise, I think we're about the same. I don't ever think she was that strong of a master. I think that the stereotypical player who did well with her was just because he played a lot of Nekima. Like she has a lot of bad matchups, I think, that put her down in my eyes. Because a lot of her tech is very specific. I mean, sure, she ignores boards, but that's something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think B. I think Sam is very hammer nail on head here, and I think that I will say killing models is always good. Like for that reason, you can do most of the things. And if the game didn't have the objective and gaining ground situation, I think that she would just be A for sure. But she doesn't really excel at some of the things. But like, man, does she hit when you have like breakthrough or fucking just murder things in the pool, right?
I think if the game was only about killing, she would be D tier for me. I think the reason why she's actually playable is because she's also good at scoring points.
Yeah, I actually partially agree with that. I think she's really good at killing like specific scheme runners and then just being able to fly around and do other great things, and that's great. That used to work really well for a while, and even go in there and like kill like your couple of key masters. But now it feels like crews are more cohesive now, and that doesn't work as well, and that's why I don't like her as much.
Yeah, I mean that the reason that she's B and not A is that there are some pools where her ability to just run up the board and kill things and then fly around, do like dropping markers or whatever, isn't gonna just win you the game the way it used to.
Yeah. Well, moving on to Nekima 2. I love Nekima 2. I'm only going to put her in low A because I haven't seen what I would determine as a good pilot for her, because God, she is actually hard to play. And it takes so much remembering of what her abilities do and keeping track of like ranges of things. But when they go off, it's just monstrous. Pretty much, I just value any guaranteed damage masters as really high tier in my mind, because if anyone can achieve their goals without needing to cheat cards or do anything that your opponent can do, then it's going to be good. And being able to proc a lot of Black Blood on your own team and just get guaranteed damage out is amazing. Especially because she can then follow it up with like some good pulse healing. Like I love this model. It definitely got a little worse with the Black Blood Shaman changes and how getting grow tokens out doesn't work anymore. But I don't even think that impacts her as much as people say, because I don't think that was the correct play style almost of going into just a mature play Nekima 1 cosplay. But if you just go hard into Black Blood, consistent damage, controlled board, I think she's just a monster at it. I just haven't really, even the games where I think people didn't play it like very well, she still did so much to the crew and for the team that I just love her. And I think that playstyle works in every pool.
Yeah, I think I think she's A as well. If she's not A, she's very, very high. She'd be at the very, very top of B, but I think she's A. When I first saw her, I was like, oh, this is the Nekima that goes all in on growing your dudes. And I think that's tempting because of the name and because of the like obvious grow token synergy. And it's certainly something she can do, but it's not the best thing she does. The best thing she does is she gives you an insane hand, like a really, really insane hand, with Bloody Banner. And she interacts really well with the Noxious Nephilim, which is a really good model generally. And Dark Bargain's nuts, and she has a built-in interact while engaged, built-in don't mind me trigger on Dark Bargain. So she can get up there, she can scrum, she can do damage, like you said, and she has all those standard Nephilim stuff of having regen and the ability to heal and generally stick around for a while. And meanwhile, she's just scoring her schemes. I think she's great. She's an A.
Disagree. B tier. Garbage master. Refuses to elaborate.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
We can't take her out of A without an elaboration.
Oh, okay. I mean, I also think she's not great, and I will say B as well, but I will elaborate, and it's because I've said so. No, I mean, like she does a lot. I don't know. She just doesn't look. She looks like she's trying to do everything, and that can be good. And I think maybe she does have solid, generalist strengths, and I don't think that she has very good. I don't think she's very good specific strengths. She does sort of strike me as a summoner that gets around all the gaining ground 2 summoning penalties. So that's fun because like your cheap models become better models, and then you can do things with them. But I don't know.
You're gonna have to elaborate what you mean, and then you can do things with them.
You can go murder things, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what else can you do with them? I mean, they get faster and they get more schemy if you want to make your tiny ones.
Yeah, I just don't think
size.
that she gets around any of the actual gaining grounds and post restrictions.
Well,
that's all I meant.
Yeah, you can buy.
Yeah, I think what he says is that you're hiring tots and then you're growing.
Yeah, you're hiring tots and growing them. That's
sure, that's
fine.
what you mean.
Yeah, that seems fine. It's sort of like you're summoning good models.
I don't think the forced summon rapid growth thing is the most powerful thing she does. The most powerful thing she does is that she has has an insane hand sculpting and
Bloody Banner seems good. The Shockwave's all right. Dark Bargain's good, but does that make her S or even A tier? I don't think so. I'm open to be proving wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't see her being strong. I think she's way weaker than Dreamer 1.
I think you're over exaggerating how good Bloody Banner is for sure.
I think you guys
if I'm spending 3 actions like drawing 3 to 6 cards and discarding 3 to 6 cards, and that's my entire master's turn. Fuck, I could have just been playing Molly and drawing 6 cards, you know?
Or you could spend 1 action to draw like 3 or 4 cards. It's a pretty big pulse.
You get 3 or 4 cards off of it, and like you're pitching the old cards, and that seems fine. But like, I don't know.
It never gets you new cards though, and like,
No.
I think you run out of cards pretty
Yeah, no, okay. It doesn't get you new cards.
Yeah, it
in your
doesn't.
hand.
It
That's
doesn't.
true.
It doesn't increase.
You
the
do
card
need to be
number.
running. You do need to be running Nefarious Pact upgrades.
And you are
I mean,
potentially, if you're doing this more than once a turn, probably dropping a card on the Shockwave TN to begin with, right?
And
It's
keep
an
in
after.
mind,
It's yeah.
and-
No, it's a
and
when
keep in
resolving,
mind
not an
you're-
after resolving. So yeah.
and
This is a suited trigger.
Yeah, and so if you have, what are you going to put Ancient Pact on though? Like it has to be on minions. You can't put them on the minions that grow because then you can't grow them or they pitch the upgrade when they replace. So like, what's the, like what where do you put them?
BBS.
You actually just you are perfectly fine just hiring Noxious you don't put them on Noxious, but you put them on Matures is perfectly.
Put it on a BBS.
Sure.
You're still taking 1 BBS. Like
Yeah,
and
and
always
one
taking 1.
And you obviously can just hire some other, fine minions.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think that she seems good, and I'm open to be proving wrong, but I don't think.
I just want to point out you're putting this master in A that at Adepticon I think was played. I don't know. It was somewhere in the double digits and won 2 games.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, a lot of the people that were playing her were like solo Nekima Neverborn players. So like, I don't know that we
think
can
they'd still win more games if they're like solo dedicated to Nekima. And it's not like I'm saying they didn't podium, right? I'm saying that even you know amongst the back end of the field, they still didn't win games, right? They performed terribly. And I don't think you can always just put that on the player, right? Eventually, in a 5-rounder, you sort out the skill discrepancies.
Yeah, I would literally just drop her vertically down 1 and put her below Dreamer on B tier. That's where I would put her. But
I'm comfortable with that.
I think, and I mean, I don't know.
I think she's better than Prime Nekima, but
I think you guys are just vastly underestimating cool teachers, but I think that's the problem with every Nekima 2 player, and why I think everyone thinks she's bad is they're focusing on all these other things, is summoning, scrolling. I just love the fact that she has this massive amount of reliable damage, and she
also damages you.
Yeah, but her whole crew's got huge stacks of hit points and
okay, just keep Hayridden alive is now your game plan. You have her, Hayridden, keep them alive. You're pulsing out so much damage and healing that it just doesn't matter.
So just to reiterate, we're putting a master in A tier because we're relying on Hayridden.
I mean, sure. I'm fine with that. I love. He's such an underrated model. It's actually kind of ridiculous.
All right, I need to play him. I have the model. I have the zombies for him, which is dumb, but I wanted them. But I've literally never fielded him. He just does not seem playable to me. But
all right, I think we've said what we need to say on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to objectively keep it an A because I've had a hard-on for this master, honestly, for a while, and I legitimately think she's terrifying good. And now,
me too. I've got a big folder of art to share with you guys, actually.
I'm pretty sure next tournament I might just try to solo her because I actually think she can be good.
Pretty sure next tournament I'm going to cosplay her.
I have a body pillow. You on Saturday, Sam? Good luck.
I've got the horns already.
All right. Well, I have a body pillow guy. If you guys need links.
I'm expecting pictures of that in the Danger Channel planet, and if I do not see pictures of Sam cosplaying, I'm gonna ban everyone from that server.
Do it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going
because
to.
he's not doing that. But
yeah, I'm not going to.
I will not allow him in the store.
I'll just show up fully nude. It'll be fine.
That's fine. That's preferred, actually.
All right. Next one.
Well,
Dora.
Moving on. I'm just going to Windmill Slam Pandora 2 and be.
You know, we could just cut this video short and just put the last 6 masters in S and call it a day.
That
works.
So I'm just going to Windmill Slam Pandora 1 and B because she's fine, but she's just not great, and she never has really been, and I'm perfectly fine saying that.
I'm going to put Pandora in high C actually, and the reason I would put Pandora in high C rather than low B is that her ability to affect the board farther than 6 inches away from her is pretty limited. Like self-loathing is fine, whatever. You're not taking her because of self-loathing. Fear's Given Form is good, but it's got all the problems shockwaves have. And everything else is basically like, if you're within 6 inches of her, you're gonna have a horrible time. If you're more than 6 inches away from her, who cares? And that, I mean, she can get up there. She can really create horrible scrums on the board. But if your opponent, if there's a pool where your opponent can just stay more than 6 inches away from your master all the time, or they're playing a crew that can win, that can do stuff from more than 6 inches away, she's feeling kind of mopey. So yeah, Pandora 1, high C for me. Because she's really good when you're forced to get close to her. If you're not forced to get close to her, she's kind of meh.
That sounds like a solid specific strength to me. That's a B for me.
I think it's narrow though. It's a narrow strength because that's a small bubble.
I think.
What is the differentiator between specific and narrow?
How often is the specific thing going to come up?
Okay, so what crews in the game are the specific thing that you're describing where they can play the entire game from more than 6 inches away?
I'm going to say the entirety of the Rezzers faction has to play within 6 inches. For the most part,
yeah, the Neverborn one.
It's more about the pool though. Like if there's schemes that people can pretty reliably score, and then
I mean, in the current packet, you've got ley lines, you've got break the line, and you've got
symbols.
Symbols in Turf War are definitely the weaker spots for her, but I think she's perfectly going to run into a game where you're going to have to interact with her in both ley lines and break the line, right? Like 50% of pools there, I think, is fine. But also, this is, Yoko 1 that works. So I'm just excited about that because it was one of the masters I was going to play if I ever went back to Neverborn. So maybe that's getting in the way.
I think for sure B tier. I think that there's a lot of play to her. She's not maybe as good as she used to be, especially now that there's a million more options. But dude, she if you get caught in the bubble, or if you are a bubble crew that needs to do things, there are masters that just cannot play the game against her, and if she gets anywhere near you, you just lose.
Yeah, she counters Brewmaster 2 insanely hard.
Yeah. And her crew is bonkers good. Pandora's a very strong master. I think B. I just don't think that she's narrow enough for C.
Agreed.
I mean, my main master that I play is Zip, so obviously I'm coming at this from a fairly skewed perspective.
Yeah. Well, I think B's good. My main problem with her, and the only reason I put her in C, is because even with all that, she still quasi-relies on shockwaves. But I do actually like B for her, just because, as we pointed out, it's not...
Yeah, I could see where playing a faction where you just say the box opens never exists would definitely skew your interpretation of how good she is. Fuck 12 cups, that is all.
But
anyways, let's take a look at the more interesting version of her.
If we haven't put anyone in S now, it's definitely now. I actually think this master is a monster. I think anyone that has a good range attack that stuns is going to be amazing. And this one does some decent damage. And the rest of her card's amazing. Her ability to just have you bring a what's that little model that gives you
Wicked Doll?
Wicked Doll. Slap on your ancient pack on it, because it already is stealth and it's one of the hardest models to kill, and its only real job is every now and then you go up to Pandora, apply adversary enemy, and you just go, haha, you can't
declare adversary enemy, you have to name a keyword.
Keyword. But still, you basically get to pick their whatever their main keyword is, and they can't attack your monster now. It has to be at night flips. It's just disgustingly good.
Yeah, I mean,
her defensive tech is good. Everything she does is good. She draws cards. She can cheat off the top of her deck if you don't really care about cheating for her flips. You can just be like, let's just see what another card is. Oh my god, I hate this. This master's so good.
Yeah, I really hate Pandora. Just I find her design to be extremely negative and unpleasant, and I'm kind of glad that Pandora isn't as good, or Pandora 1 isn't as good as she was in previous editions. So I really want to not put Pandora 2 in S tier, but goddamn, this model's stupid. She has a range 10 attack that always stuns. The compounding emotions is just really, really stupid. She can just sometimes resummon her incredibly powerful totem exactly in a position where its distraction aura can just ruin your opponent's day. Even no shelter here, which is probably the weakest thing on the back of her card, is still really strong. Some crews it screws them up really badly. I hate this freaking model. She's S, but I don't want her to be. I want this model to be weak enough that I can't put her in S, but she's not. She's really good.
Also, there's the simple fact that her totem has mass marker removal. That is just as we talk. Everyone who's marker removal obviously goes up in strength, and her summonable totem with mass.
Her resummonable totem with AoE 4-inch AoE off of a 50 mil base marker removal.
She's also such a good second master.
Well, we'll talk about that in the thing. Landon, what's your opinion on Pandora 2?
I think she's actually pretty garbage at scheming, and I don't think that she can be S because of that. Like, I don't think your keyword is as strong as maybe Brandon thinks. And so, I don't know. She has some good stuff. Maybe she's A. I was going to put her in B. I don't actually like her that much.
You know what's really good at scheming? Like a fast rider.
Yeah, you could spend 11 points on a...
Well, it also
Scheme
kills
runner.
things all game long, and then like when you need to drop a marker somewhere, it does it.
Yeah.
So for a similar reason, I've put other masters in S who aren't good at scheming. She's really good at scheme denying, and even strat denying. Like her
What master have I allowed you to put in S that is bad at scheming?
Hoffman,
Hoffman's great at scheming. Are you kidding me?
good at scheming like 2 specific schemes.
He also just has... We're not talking about Hoffman. Hoffman has the ability to scheme. This is different.
I mean, I think Pandora, like, she doesn't scheme, but she does like counter scheme really, really effectively.
She kind of well, and
okay. So
she's going to make it pretty decent at it. It's never going to make her bad at it.
I would just like to wrap up the Pandora 2 conversation with that, just to present a fully rounded opinion that D tier trash I will not explain.
Excellent. Thank you. I agree.
Cool.
All right, so
No, she's absolutely the assist master in my faction. Are you kidding? No, she's
No, she's not
bonkers
the-
good.
I don't know.
No, she's so unbelievably good. No, it's just insane. I love her. She's the best master in
Hate this
Neverborn.
stupid master.
Yeah, she needs to be nerfed, like for sure, absolutely 100%.
I mean, I would say that she needed to be nerfed if she was C tier. I just have a direct hatred for Pandora.
Oh
Maul
no,
shouldn't be good.
I see. No, you're wrong about that. But yeah, no, she's very good. S tier all the way.
all right, well, let's just move on then. Titania, not a fan of her. Never have been. She's always felt really bad. She did one thing, I guess, kind of well, so maybe I'll put her in C. God, actually, do I want to put her below Lucius? I don't.
You can't put her below Lucius. Brandon will kill you.
I will leave
Supposed to be
right now.
still. Yeah, she's never done anything that amazingly good, and then she still kind of just dies, and I'm fine with that. And it's really good at tar pitting, because while she does just die, she does it very slowly, at least with the whole severes or moderates. But even then, against most good crews, that doesn't matter. God, I feel like every time I've seen her play, she goes in the middle of the map, she's annoying for a turn or two, and then she loses the game.
I disagree. I mean, so I think I'd put her in B. I agree that she can be low impact. I think that she has some she has a surprising amount of like killiness to her. People think of her as being very, the master that doesn't die, but Awaken Hunger is actually just like a really savagely good ability. Queen's Command is unresistible damage, which I know is like Landon's favorite thing.
Yeah.
And it's not very much unresistible damage, but it's not very much unresistible damage.
No, it's like two AoEs of one.
Yeah. But I mean, Awakened Hunger is just a crazy good attack. And like just by existing, she makes the rest of your crew harder to deal with. I think I'm willing to put her. I'm willing to put her in B. She has enough mobility too that I feel like I don't feel bad about like trying to scheme with her. Like she's mobile and she's not fragile.
She's literally just better Nekima 1, so if we're not putting her above Nekima 1, I don't know what we're doing with this tier list.
Yeah, I'd be okay with her position there. I would also be positioned okay with her.
Like
being
Awaken
below Nekima
Hunger
1.
is just such a ridiculous attack. Like stat 6 positives that puts injured on something, you hit but this once in whatever model you got.
And it has
got
good
back,
triggers.
just-
It has 2 good
Right.
triggers.
And like this is also just a model that you say it just dies, but it really doesn't.
No,
just
it really
die.
doesn't.
She has one
Like
of
if
the-
people
one of
are
the best.
losing Titania, you're playing against bad Titania players, right? Like usually how it goes is she gets hit down to like 2 or 3 hit points and then just like germinates away and Awakened Hungered twice, and now she's at like 7 hit points again because of focus cleansing, and you have to like walk Charger again if you want to start getting damage through.
Yeah, I think Titania is solidly in B. I think her crew is very survivable. There's a lot that they can do. They're all hard to wound, which just wrecks some things. Cruel Disappointment, if you're going to bubble sort of around her, is literally the only ability in the game that can just straight up ignore a red Joker.
Forever doomed.
Okay, so almost. Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that is that the Hangman thing that counts them as black. Okay, so there's 2.
Yeah.
But like Awaken Hunger is insanely strong. The Queen's Command is really really good with her trigger on that, which lets you teleport her effectively 9 inches, and she flies. Like, she's solid. And I will say it's definitely gotten weaker now that there's general marker removal. But Abundant Growth is insane. The fact that she can put out like 1 million severe markers can just wreck crews, even crews with marker removal. You can put so many down that they just can't deal with them, and you slam them around into people, use them to teleport. There's all kinds of things. I think strong B. I don't know if necessarily she's better or worse than Nekima, but she's definitely stronger than C tier.
Literally just better Nekima. She does all the same things, and
yeah, she's a little bit less killy, but
is
like
tankier, and
yeah,
just has more consistency in murdering models because of Awakened Hunger.
Yeah, she's less spike damage, but she definitely is more.
Cruel Disappointment, not keyword locked, by the way, so it even makes like the good models in your faction significantly harder to kill, like Emissary and what do you call it, Candy.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how we haven't been talking about those 2 models more in the context of every master we talk about, because those are like some faction defining models.
Well, maybe we'll see them at the end.
It's on Emissary all the time, but when he's good, he's really good. So I kind of agree. I don't know. I'm fine putting him B. I was mostly going with C because I do think it's a narrow strength of her tar pitting center, and that's what's really good about her. Whereas at least
literally just better Nekima.
Yeah, that's not the only thing she does.
Yeah,
does it better, but I also arguably more consistent ping damage if you take like Blade Rush or something like that. But then stat 7 attack. Like, I don't know. I'm not willing to say it's better Nekima because it doesn't do what Nekima does in the exact same way, or even close. But I can find her, I guess, annoying enough to put her there. I've never ever cared when I see this master on the other side of the table, though.
All right, let's go to Titania 2. Because I bet people got opinions.
A weirder one where you can draw a lot of cards, and then I don't know what else you do with her. I legitimately don't know where I want to put her, just because I haven't seen her do anything amazing, but her card looks like it should be good, and that makes me confused. But she draws cards, yes, but every time I've seen her played, which admittedly is only twice, I think, it just felt like she doesn't accomplish much, and her keyword kind of sucks, if I remember correctly. Like, I don't remember any standout Fae models.
Okay, so her keyword sucks, except her keyword sucks, except if you are taking the Autumn Knights and they are close to her, they are defense 7 with armor and hard to wound. Which is just, for a lot of people, just like, it's a big red flashing sign that says don't go here. And normally you'd be like, okay, I just won't attack them. But she actually has a pretty significant amount of mobility in her crew between, Royal Escort and her, her, just the fact that her crew has, unimpeded, or not unimpeded, but they ignore their own markers. Not actually unimpeded, that's true. She also can scheme pretty well. Like, Behold Her Glory draws a bunch of cards, but it also just, drops a marker. I do think that it's hard for me to evaluate this model. I have not played against her personally. I've only seen her played, and that always, I have a harder time with masters. I haven't actually tried to like get in the zone of thinking, okay, so how am I going to win this game? The third law looks really good. It's a 10-inch attack against movement that injures and stuns, but like, is it? What do you do with that? I don't know. She's very difficult for me to evaluate. I would not believe if you put her in S, and I would not believe if you put her in low C, but I'd believe almost anywhere else you put her. I guess B is okay. I want her to be above Pandora, though. I hate that fucking master.
Sure, I'll give that for you.
Thank you.
Landon, are we wrong?
Man, I'd have to see this model to tell you you're wrong. I think it's good. I'm kind of in the same boat as Sam, right?
Yeah, I think we all.
A lot of solid things on this card, and I think the important thing is that I can think of is I can visualize a couple of places that I'd really want to play her. Like, if I'm looking at a pool, I'm like, man, I got to take Vendetta in this pool. I think I'm taking Titania Autumn Queen, because like, you just get these unkillable, reasonably costed pieces that really excel in a scheme like Vendetta. Because like the pet peeve I have is people like hire these 10-stone models and put Vendetta on it, because their opponent takes a 10-stone model, and it's like, why are you taking these 10-stone models in Vendetta? And the answer is usually because I want to Vendetta the other guy's 10-stone model. Then you find the guy who just like hires nothing more expensive than a 7 and just scores Vendetta, and the other guy who was supposed to take Vendetta in the pool can't now. So like I feel like she's good in those pools, right? With like Vendetta, catch and release, those minion-oriented schemes. So I can definitely see a specific place for her. So that's why I think B is probably the right spot. I definitely don't think she ever makes it into A because I feel like there's enough like weird knots you run into trying to play her keyword only.
So you know what is kind of fun about her is that you can actually take the Malisaurus Rex with her and not feel bad because she makes its stats be not as embarrassing and builds in every single one of its attack triggers. Oh, is that minion only?
It's minion only.
My dream is dead. See, again, I can't even evaluate this model. I don't know what she freaking does. Yeah. Like, she does so much weird crap that doesn't seem to link up.
She makes your Rougarous actually like amazing kill machines. She makes your Autumn Knights not die.
Yeah,
she still has this weird like thing where I just wish they made her keyword unimpeded. Like,
again, I keep thinking they are, and they're not. They're just unimpeded for their own thing.
It is a big downside, I think, on why I never feel like I care about them so much. Just being unimpeded on that crew is hilariously bad.
Yeah. So I hope that you're all ready. Strap in for what is going to be the hottest take of this entire series. I sort of agree. Like, I don't really know what she does. She has a lot of words on her card. That makes sense.
I think maybe there's... I don't even think there's potential. I think the problem with her really is, like, if it's a master you want to draw cards with, you have Zoraida. If it's a master who you want to stun people with, you have Pandora. Even that draws cards better than this one. And if it's a master you want to make Autumn Knights better, just don't hire Autumn Knights.
Yeah, no, I actively want to hire
Autumn Knights. I like Autumn Knights. I usually
with every word that came out of your mouth.
What?
Out of Haku's mouth.
Oh, okay.
So she definitely draws cards objectively better than everything you just named, right?
Yeah, I was gonna let that one slide, but it did sound weird to me.
It just doesn't do much more than that, though. Like, I really wish her card did, like, I almost wish like her ranged attack was just slightly more damage, maybe. I mean, it's really fun with like the hooded. You put up the Hazardous Terrain, or you have the Emissary to also have Hazardous Terrain. Her attack is now a 3/4/5 at a stat 7, which is really good. I mean, she doesn't ignore concealment, so I mean, that's a big problem. And she draws cards, and she does have a stun button, which is nice, but again, it's just weird. And ever since like they nerfed, I mean, I think she was definitely like a high A tier when the just like
Changeling.
You were, yeah. And Changeling to just
when you could behold her glory twice per turn.
Doing that, but now that you have to spend your master AP doing that, and it's just not great. But she works really well with Hooded and the Emissary, so you just hire those two, and then the Autumn Knights or Rougarou I think are slightly better. And
they do different things. Like, the point of hiring on the Autumn Knights is they just will at that point never die ever.
Yeah.
Because you can also heal and shield your own
packet really good.
This is one of the ones where I almost feel like having like a question mark tier might actually be fine, because obviously we haven't played all the champions or played against them well enough, even with this group of people, to really definitively try to narrow these down.
I'll say also her model is gorgeous. I'm thinking of painting it. I have it because I got the Ulix box. I'm thinking of painting it just because it's a really good looking model.
Yeah, I'm in the process of painting mine right now. It's really good. Huge fan. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this. I haven't played her yet. I don't want to. Like, I look at this model, and like there are definitely models like I want to play. Like, I want to play everything, really. I even want to play Lucius, but like this, I can't follow the breadcrumbs because they just lead to a bunch of confused circles that don't.
Yeah, why does she have a stat 7 on her melee attack? Like, that seems crazy. Or not even melee. It's a 6-inch range.
Yeah, she doesn't have any melee attacks.
Yeah, that's right. It's a 6-inch range. Why does she have a stat 7 on it? It feels like it's encouraging you to take that attack, but I can't see myself doing it that often.
Yeah. It's for hazardous terrain, right? But I mean, Pandora 2 does a similar thing.
She also doesn't natively generate hazardous terrain. You have to do weird crap with Killjoy to get it.
Yeah.
No. You just need Rider or the Emissary.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. The Rider can do it. Anyways, moving on.
I'm now going to do the hottest take I think ever, and I'm going to just slam Zoraida below Pandora. So I unironically actually hate Zoraida. I think I would rate her below B if enough people wouldn't just get mad at me for doing that, and I would succumb to peer pressure. Mainly because my biggest problem with Zoraida has been and always will be that obeying masters who want to obey their own models are just TN machines. And I'm not the biggest fan of how gimmicky her draw mechanic is, because you're able to help your opponent sometimes. You can hurt yourself. I mean, obviously, you can always choose not to do it, but sometimes, just the tantalizing aspect of drawing more cards is good. And it's just a master who I feel like you have to be really good at to just be an okay master, like in B tier, where you can do some really cool obeys against people who have like good enforcers or henchmen that they want to do. You're not ignoring anything. I think the biggest reason why I would even maybe potentially move it higher B is just because having Hex on her is just good. Like just having a Hex model is really strong. And then they nerfed she obviously went down in tier when they nerfed her who are the guys who just drew cards? Bakors. Yeah, when Bakors got nerfed, that's when she became, in my opinion, the bad version of the master. Because before you had actual out of non-master activation dependent card draw, and now having master activation dependent card draw is kind of like weirder, and it's not great. I don't like her. Obeys aren't as good as everyone tries to make them out to be, especially because they don't work like they did in GG0. Yeah.
Can you just real quick unzoom in your window, because you just zoomed it in and it's going to make the whole video look weird. Thanks.
Yeah.
I did that.
No, one back in.
One back in.
All right.
Great, thanks.
I'm not going to engage with any of that nonsense. She's an A. You know it. I know it. We both know why. I mean, I'll put her in the middle of A, but yeah, she's a TN machine. You know what you can do? Just use the severe that you probably have in your hand because you have a 6-card hand to obey an enemy model, and then if they try to cheat, to make the initial attack miss and make you cheat your severe, you then get to use the ability that literally nobody who plays her ever remembers she has. Look at the top card of your deck and set up your TN for later. Like, she's great. Like, she has incredible AP efficiency. Her bonus action like fundamentally alters the way you can play the game into her with your hand and like how you choose to use cards. Hex is, as you mentioned, a really, really good attack. 12 inches for like whatever reason. She's resilient in the nature of like never having to, put herself in danger. She never has to take a walk action. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say she's as good as she used to be. Obviously, Bakors got hit pretty hard, but just the sheer like AP efficiency of playing in this crew is really, really high, and she's great. And I'm gonna put her in A, right in the middle.
If I didn't think her keyword was dog water, I would agree with you. But I think her keyword's pretty dog water, and that means she has to hire weird models. I think she's high B. I think she's probably like top of B based on what we have in B. I don't know if she makes it to A, but maybe she makes it to A. Hex is just a ridiculously powerful action, right? And maybe that's enough. Like Hex, I feel like a turn of just obey my whatever the heck you hired that beats into someone, and then hex them twice kills most things in the game, including masters. So I don't know. Maybe she's A.
Yeah, I mean, no, I already said my thing. Whatever.
Brandon, take this away.
Yeah, I mean, I think two important things to remember. Hex is theoretically range 12, but she can arc node through Swamp Fiends. So in fact, actually, she can hex pretty much anything anywhere on the board. Because she has Silurids that you can't attack because they have stealth, so they're very fast.
Silurids
really
die.
Like
Silurids just instantly die.
They die, but I really like them. I like them as much as Wicked Dolls, except they're twice as expensive, so that's unfortunate. But I think for an Obey Master with the actual strongest Obey in the game, the only one I think that can do double activation, and Hex is an insane ability, and the thing that really boosts her into A tier for me more than anything else is her bonus action Threads of Fate, because it fundamentally changes the way that you have to play the game against her. we talk a lot about the, when with Zoraida, if you're, you either do it or don't, and if your opponent's pitching their whole hand and then they have nothing left, you don't, and then if you're pitching your whole hand, you do, and they just have to play around that, because if they don't, they're going to get wrongled. I think there's no question in my mind Zoraida's an A tier. Maybe low A tier for sure. I don't think necessarily she's better than Dreamer 2 or Euripides 2. But I don't think that she's in the same class as everybody else.
All right, I think she's better than Nekima 2, and we have Nekima 2 there. But that's because I think Nekima 2 is not good.
Yeah, I also think Nekima 2 is not that great. But
I mean, look, two of us think she's an A, two of us think she's in B. Let's, at the very minimum, if you're not going to put her in A, put her at the absolute top of B.
You know what? I knew I would probably be talked out of it, and I'm not even talked out of it. I maintain that she's actually legit trash. I hate her. Not in D tier trash, but I'm really not a fan. I think she baits a lot of new players into playing her and playing her wrong.
Oh, I think she's absolutely not a new player friendly master. You need to big brain play every game with her. And if we're talking about brain burn with Dreamer 2, that absolutely has to be brought up. She's absolutely hands down the hardest master in Neverborn to play for sure.
I think you just played too many games where people forget to do reading the cards.
I have never once in my entire life ever done reading the cards.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm telling you guys. Like, it's the ability that even people who like play hundreds of games of Zoraida and main her forget that she does, and it makes
It's line of sight dependent. It doesn't go off like as constantly as everyone insists it does, but
it goes off more than 0 times.
I've never
because
done
everyone
it.
forgets it.
Does it? What does that ability even say? I haven't read the card.
I don't know. I've legitimately, I think almost every Zoraida game I've played against, I kill her crew because her crew is laughably weak, in my opinion. As I was saying, as Landon said, her keyword is just kind of bad models. And it's always like, try to hire hooded emissary, have good obey targets, but you get hurt by concealing a lot in this crew, because sure, you can redraw an empty hand, but you're still having to do wonky things to get around concealment. And I feel like the crew itself doesn't actually justify her ability to just be able to hex. And we've seen some other masters who have good injured, and that's the real benefit of hex, right? That sure, she gets some AP efficiency with obeys, but so do masters that fast, like obviously Pandora 2. But
I mean, it's not just hex; it's hex with coordinated attack. So you put in like 6 attacks onto an injured model, and then they die because they can't cheat defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen her be able to like pick a target and be able to kill it, but most of the time I just feel like she has to invest so much into that, especially as I was talking about with concealment being pretty common at the moment, and other ways to potentially give negatives, but mostly concealment. And if she doesn't have a crew that can really give her focus, if she's using all of her stones, she's not getting coordinated attack. Same thing with the stone for having to do the other obey.
I mean, you just never have to flip through concealment if you're just obeying your guy into position and then coordinating attack 2 times. Like, you just never have to worry about concealment unless it's a model generating concealment.
I mean, you're talking about obeying them out of concealment and then
No, I'm talking about having the model you draw line of sight from within 1 in the same piece of concealing terrain.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, she can arc. I say arc node because War Machine, but she can draw line of sight from the model that you have put in position with obey.
Sure.
For hex, which is just really good. As long as it's keyworded, though, that ability is locked to Swamp Fiend, so you can't do it with like Hooded Rider or like a versatile. But
which really means they're doing it with just the first mate.
Yeah, first mate's fine. You could also do it with no, actually, nothing else. No other models.
First mate.
Fair play.
Which is why it doesn't normally work, because I mean he's a priority kill target and he's not the hardest to kill. I mean,
I think Kurgan and potentially
Kurgan.
the right pools.
Oh right, she did get the Kurgan.
Entirely fine.
Kurgan's great. I'm really looking forward to playing the Kurgan of the Edza.
Yeah, McTavish.
Let's move on. If we're talking about McTavish, it's time to move on.
All right, fair enough.
So that's Zoraida. I'm willing to put her at high B, but I actually think she's a lot worse than most people give her credit for. And in order to get to high B or low A, as you guys want, I think you have to be really good at the master, and that's hard. But on a Zoraida 2, I actually rate Zoraida 2 higher, just because I think she has one of the most underrated abilities in the game, and that's
if you're gonna say Seal Fate,
there's no way that's what you're about to say. There's no way.
It can't be.
Seal Fate is not underrated. Everybody understands how good it is. That ability is berserk.
It single-handedly wins games.
He's going to talk about bumps and boils because that's going to be my play.
I have played against her 3 times and had one person use Seal Fate against me. So yes, I am going to say Seal Fate. People underestimate this ability.
That ability is
The only thing people talk
stupid.
about.
That ability is
It's not
bonkers.
I'm gonna
Nobody
swallow my
underestimates that.
microphone.
a good game. They're not using it. And
Okay,
I think it's just objectively the silliest thing in the world if you're not using this, because this ability is just amazing.
it's the best trigger in the game.
Where am I putting her in A? I'm putting her somewhere in A.
Above
Marcus.
Nekima, probably.
Yeah, below Vargas.
Yeah.
Lost knowledge, amazing ability. Like having 2 amazing triggers on it means that you're not even suffering from using it as your master AP, because you also get to pull off 2 of the best triggers in the game, summoning a model, making them lose the pass token and lose their best activation because it's go in a wonky time. Her bonus action's amazing. Her off the path is a great ability because moving people around and drawing cards is amazing. And then she has an attack that also just stuns. A 1/3/5 that just stuns.
It perma-stuns.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it perma-stuns because she has an ability to discard a card to make sure stun stays on a model. Fun fact, amazing hire into Pandora too.
I mean, both Zoraidas are really strong hires.
Yeah, they're both great outside of keyword because, as we talked about, their keyword kind of sucks. This model doesn't rely on her keyword at all. It doesn't have like a lot of the same things. I mean, she has protected, but you're playing her so far back normally. I don't think that matters too much.
Well, no, actually, her bonus is keyword locked, so that does matter. But also,
As is
putting it on the first mate is great. Like, he's a really good target for it.
Yeah, and
Hire him out of keyword.
Can't
Actually,
do
you
that.
can't.
Neverborn.
Can't do that. I'm sorry, I'm a Bayou player, so I just think you can.
Body
But
players.
So yeah, and you can do that with the Kurgan, who I think also really benefits from.
yeah, just if you're playing Neverborn, just put it on the Kurgan. The Kurgan's great.
So yeah, overall, I really love this model. I would almost rate her slightly higher than Barkus, except for she's too much of a utility master, and her keyword, as we kind of talked about, isn't amazing. It's really just first mate Kurgan, but she's just a very good master, and I would probably only rate her higher if I actually saw my opponents using that ability, because every time I see them not using that ability, it's just like she's good support, but nothing amazing. But she should be amazing because Seal of Fate is bonkers.
Yeah, Seal Fate's the best trigger in the game. I'll fight people who disagree. She's really good. She is very resource intensive, but she also generates a lot of resources. So it makes me not worry so much about the fact that she has a bunch of TNs and has a bunch of very specific triggers, and she wants to discard cards for Lingering Curses, and she wants to discard cards for Mothwitch. Mothwitch is, by the way, just a really good ability, just incidentally. It's kind of cute. But sometimes you just win the game because you just took 3 interact actions with a single AP. But yeah, I think she's really good. I mean, Seal Fate's obviously the money on her card, and there are some crews that just instantly lose to Seal Fate. There are some crews that you get it off and they just throw their hands up. But even crews that don't instantly lose, it's a very strong ability. Plus, you could do kind of goofy crap with the combination of the Carrion Effigy, which she summons, and then Seal Fate, because it's got Accomplice and the ability to turn off Soulstone Healing. So sometimes your opponent got a little cocky with their master, and you just pick them off.
Yeah.
I think this model has too much random crap that needs to happen in order for it to work, and it bleeds cards for me to ever consider it A tier. I could be talked into high B tier, but you have to discard so many things to get most of your stuff to work. You have to take so many walks to use your short ass ranges. And if you're using Lost Knowledge a bunch, you actually have to have markers to remove. And that means someone else is making them.
I mean,
there's a lot of
or your models are
out of
generating
taxes.
them because you just took 3 interact actions with a single AP.
For
And
again,
discarded 2 cards.
Yeah, but you draw 2 cards for each of those markers. It's pretty hard to not draw 3 to 5
or
cards.
you just
in your
get a
one
couple
mana
if you
activation.
hire Wild Guys, which are natively good in Corrupted Ley Lines and a couple other situations.
Yeah, I don't know.
bonus action allows you to treat him as a marker.
Wild guys are trash.
Yeah,
You
she
heard
has
it here,
you're right that
not
she's
first.
resource intensive, but she generates a ton of resources.
Yeah,
I feel
think
like-
it's a balancing act.
Yeah, I just don't think it's consistent enough or powerful enough to make it into A tier for me. I don't know. Especially, but the point you all seem to glass over is she also just has to take a lot of walk actions. Unless you're saying the only action you're taking on this model is Lost Knowledge.
No, Hooded and Kurgan both move her up the board really well.
Yeah, you really don't need to walk with her that much.
Yeah,
And like the consolation prizes, if you walk with her, your other dudes walk too.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably would put her in high B tier. I think that, but basically, essentially, what the reasons Landon said, right? I think that.
I think everything we have in A tier that's not Nekima 2 is easily a tier above this master.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that. Seal Fate bunkers ridiculously over the top. Everything else is good, but is she playable everywhere? Like, she can do a lot of stuff, but it's a balancing act. You really need to not, like, you really need to not be in a position where your resources are getting messed with or denied, and for that reason I wouldn't just windmill slam her into any scenario.
So I think she's really actually good in every scenario except for against people who make patch tokens, I guess, is her only like true quasi counters, because with taking, I don't know. I think that her ability to just have 3 people interact on the last activation potential, as well as her ability to just she has Nefarious Pact, or she actually draws an obscene amount of cards, even if you're not necessarily lost knowledging, just because cycling with off the path is never terrible. You actually have a decent amount of movement with the Kurgan, because this is the model you're just placing forward. And you always have default markers with him as well, in case you're really running low or your opponent doesn't make any, but which monsters don't make markers anymore.
Dark Bargain exists in this faction. Like, not on Masters, just like Dark Bargain, the bonus action. You all know the one I'm talking about, right? Take
It does
point of
exist
damage,
in this
interact.
faction.
How much of it? Like, who's got that?
Just Nekima.
Nekima. There's only 4 models in the game with it. It's Nekima, Aminozako, Yin, and Tengu.
Also, super deceptively, Guppify as just a hilarious better execute can sometimes just be.
I'm gonna plug
Guppify, strongest trigger in the game.
I'm going to plug the narrative league that we're running on Danger Planet. If you Guppify the enemy master, you have accomplished the achievement and will win a prize.
And that will never happen.
But if it does,
no,
I'm
switching to Neverborn. I'm playing Neverborn for this narrative league now. It's happening.
It's not gonna happen.
It's happening.
All right, and with that, I think we've concluded. I'm perfectly. Oh wait,
No,
we didn't do Brandon now. Brandon.
We did. No, I talked about that. We didn't do versatiles, and more importantly, we didn't talk about the last master. Are you kidding me? Where's the Hinamatsu photo?
Nope.
Fair point.
Hinamatsu, you can talk about Hinamatsu in the versatile time. That is when you're allowed to talk about your wretched puppet.
All right. I guess we'll just do versatiles real quick right now, because I have food waiting for me. So
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Versatiles. I think Emissary is easily number 1 versatile. Wicked Doll is probably number 2, because that model can go in most crews. And then number 3 for me, I would lean towards. Number 2 is Candy. God, I forgot how amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Number 1's probably Candy. Actually, Candy. Rider Emissary, I guess. I don't know. There's actually so much decent versatility in Neverborn. I'm not the biggest fan of the keyword overall, because it got power corrupt a bit. You can always hire matures, and those are always sometimes situationally amazing. But for overall, I think Candy Emissary does some really amazing things, and then Wicked Doll in specific scenarios.
Candy, Bowman, Emissary, done.
All right. I was gonna say the first 2 of Candy Emissary, but I gotta be spicy. I'm gonna say the Klaus package, and if I'm not allowed to say the Klaus package, I'm retracting Candy from my list.
The Klaus package doesn't work anymore.
Wait, what?
No, the Klaus package just being Klaus and the Enforcer.
Klaus and Hildegard.
Why Hildegard?
Because she does weird stuff if she's next to Klaus.
The no focus use against your bubble of models. I played against that, and I didn't understand how good it was until I played against it. And it's a real problem for some crews to just deal with that.
All right.
And I think Klaus is also just good.
Sure.
The fact that she makes Klaus very difficult to deal with is very nice as a bonus on top of everything else.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely in the boat of spot 1 going to the Wicked Doll. I think I don't believe that I have, in recent memory at least, played a game of Neverborn without at least 1 Wicked Doll. Like, it's so unbelievably versatile, and at 3 points for a significant stealthy model, it's just wild. I think probably in slot 2 has got to be some combination of Rider or the Emissary, but also I really want to say in slot 3 is Hinamatsu. I really like Hinamatsu, and Hinamatsu's like probably like the third best master in the faction.
Well, it can't be the third best master because Widow Weaver exists, and she just does everything Hinamatsu does.
Yeah,
like,
Widow Weaver's best master number 2.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
By the way, these actually aren't even complete jokes. Hinamatsu is a really good master.
Hinamatsu as a master is something that I have the whole keyword for. I've done a bunch of playing with it, and like she's very situationally good. Like she probably would be like a C tier at maybe B tier, maybe, but she's very stable, and she gives you access to an absurdly large pool of models. Like Bill Algren is coincidentally Chiangong, so you just get to take Bill Algren. You get to take Charm Warders and Neverborn, and like I can't imagine the look on my opponent's face if they declare a summoner model against Hinamatsu, and then I just rock with the Charm Warder in board, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening to my world?" Like I live for that moment. Hinamatsu's very good. I like her. But also Widow Weaver, I don't know. So that's like 9, but Neverborn.
Okay. And with that, I think we're going to conclude our talks on Neverborn.
So I hope this video was helpful to everyone out there. It was a lot of fun to make, and I hope now you have a better sense of how the different Neverborn masters play and why Pandora is the worst and you should never play her. But until next time, thank you very much to the Badfo Haku guys for coming on and doing this tier list with us. You should definitely check out their channel for tier lists and also really high-level battle reports. And I hope you check the links in the description. You can see the Danger Planet Discord, some links to our other videos, especially the Neverborn faction focus video, which goes into a little bit more detail about the lore of these masters and how they play. And the Narrative League that I mentioned, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we're hoping we get a wide cross-section of players for. Other than that, hope this video was fun for everyone. And we'll see you next time.